Man, don't that music gets me going every time, boy. It gets
Let's
me hyped.
go.
Man, what's good? Well, welcome everybody to another episode 13 of Fourth and
Lucky
Fantasy.
13.
13, lucky one, man. It's playoff time, Rocco. It's
Let's
playoff
go.
time, baby. And listen, I am Honcho. Y'all know who it is at this point, and I'm with my right hand man.
Siriaco. They call me Rocco.
And yeah, this is my favorite time of fantasy, This is when all your hard work throughout the fantasy season goes into fruition. We always say the regular season is winning the regular season is skill, right? That's just staying on top of waivers, thinking about different trades, but trades before the season even starts. That on the when you those things go in hand when you think about the regular season. When it comes to the playoffs, though, it's the wild, wild west. You can have it's a total just shootout. You have players that could usually go off for you, lay eggs. You can have players that usually don't do nothing go off. It's just you just never know what happens during this time. You can have players that just sit out, and now you got to pivot. So it's you gotta love the playoffs, man. This is what really just gets the juices flowing for me because I know I'm sitting really nice. I'm sitting really good in a couple paid leagues, and I've just looking back throughout my whole overall 2024 fantasy regular season, did really good. Rocco, my boy, my man, my G. How did your season go? Are you ready? You ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready, man. Fantasy in the regular season, to be a consistent winner, I always say this, takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of hard work. Uh, you got to be on top of everything. You got to be on top of trades. You got to be on top of the people that's tanking because you don't want to be the last one in on those tanking teams that are selling off, you know, winning assets. So it takes a lot of skill, but in the playoffs, weird shit happens.
Weird shit,
Every
man.
year, weird shit happens. I have teams that just struggle to get into the playoffs as a six seed wild card, win the championship, and then I have teams that lost one or two games the whole year, crap out in the semis after the bye week. So, um, yeah, you just never know. You just set your best lineup, you do all the research, and you just hope that your team outscores the other team because it's single elimination. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
NBA where it's a 7 game series and the
No,
best team always wins, basically 90% of the time.
bring your best
Weird
every
shit
week.
happens
Mm-hmm.
in a 1 game elimination.
Yep.
But I did a little spreadsheet here. Can kind of show you guys real quick. Let me see if I can drive this bad boy here.
Yes,
Dynasty
please.
results share. I don't know if you guys could see that. But basically, out of we have 28 teams. Uh, 5 of them were total rebuilds, where the goal is to lose all of the games.
Okay.
And as you can see, I did well in those. I got 3 first overall picks. One's like some weird lottery shit, so no telling what happens in that when it's the TBD. And I also have a second overall pick. In the leagues where I was trying, I won. I'm going to the playoffs. 18 out of 23 leagues.
Okay.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. No, because okay, the top two. 18 out of 21 leagues. Sorry about that. I
Mm.
didn't count these top two, and I have 7 first round buys. I got a 63% winning percentage. So I think I had a pretty good year. 18 chances to win, and I'll take that I'll take that every day of the week. And the teams where I didn't make the playoffs, I still got good teams in those leagues. I just, for whatever reason, I didn't make it in at the end. So uh, let's see. I'll go. Start
And
with the
can
winning
we all
streak.
appreciate that beautiful chart that Rocco put together, man? That was a well articulated, and just I think what I'm thinking of when I thinking in my head about win percentages or the amount or the percentage that I want to win across, because you and I, we're in many leagues. We play
Hmm.
in many leagues. So kind of for us is more about strategy, getting different strategies across different leagues, and then seeing what those different strategies have success with. So, and we've talked about this a few times throughout our episodes, how we lean towards those QB wide receiver heavy type teams. You had over a 60% win percentage, and what I'm saying, not to bring on myself either, but I had a 63.65% win percentage
Oh
this
man, you
year.
got me. You
You
got
feel
me.
yo when when I thought, or when I think about coming into this season on what I wanted to do and accomplish, just to see, and just a backstory. Once again, I was just in one dynasty league last year, and which I came number one. I finished in that same league. I finished number one in last year. I finished number one again this year, $50 league. In my $75 league, finished second, buys in both. And so for me, it's just, if we're going to be on here talking about it, if we're going to be on here, preaching the gospel to y'all, telling y'all what to do, I feel like you got to back it up a bit. You got to bring, what I'm saying, you got to be in a couple chips yourself. You got to be in a couple playoff runs yourself to be able to, tell the people how to get there. So shout out to that boy Rocco. Shout out to, we're like I said, we really are in them trenches, and it's not no facade or fake game over here. We actually win. That's what.
And, and I'm gonna talk a little shit here. Um, I love all my leagues, but I'm in $400 leagues, and in those $400 leagues, I am 41-15.
Mm,
I'm not gonna do the winning percentage on that, and I have 3 out of 4 buys in those leagues, and the one that I didn't secure to buy in, I'm so pissed. Um, Basically, what happened in that league is I missed out by 1 game. I got the second most points in that league,
mm-hmm.
but there was a couple other teams where, the schedule kind of went their way and they got, a few more wins. I think I outscored them by like 300 points. Um, but basically, what kept me out of the buy in that league was that bullshit that they pulled with CMC on week 1. I lost that game by less than 1 point because I
Bro,
put stupid ass Mike freaking
bro.
Williams instead of picking up Alan Lazard off of waivers, and I lost that damn game, and that's my buy right there. Son of a
That's
weird shit happens.
I'm telling you, that's me in the $75 league where I finished my overall record for the season was 10-4, but those last, I say two of those four last games, I lost by literally 1 point each time. So that's the difference between being 10-4 and 12-2. You dig? So,
Hey,
but I
hey,
still, I
that
still, I still caught the bottle. Still for it in my. I beat the person who had the number two spot to gain the number two spot.
if your team's good enough, then they'll win those 3 games.
So,
That's my opinion. If it's not good enough to win that first week, then it wasn't good enough to win the ship.
so Rocco, question, man. Just looking back at your just the overall, you know, fantasy season. Was there anything that you learned throughout that you learned that you didn't know before, or you kind of had you just have a different insight on after going through this last 2024 regular season
Um,
in terms
I
of
guess
fantasy?
I guess one of the things is maybe to make a decision on a team if I don't think it's going right earlier to rebuild it. Some teams I waited too long, and by then um, it was a little bit too late. The teams that had assets or had first round picks that they were willing to trade kind
Mm,
of traded them early. Um, and I fought hard to get into the playoffs, but it was a losing battle. I probably should have went for a better pick earlier because once in this February Fools League, Puka went out early, um, and then Rice blew his knee out, and
yep.
after that I pretty much had no shot. Um, but I won a couple games early, so it gave me hope. And then I tried to pivot, and by the time I pivoted, it was a little too late. I did wind up selling Tyreek, but um, there were some other moves I could have made a little earlier. So that's probably one lesson that I learned.
Okay.
Another lesson is to maybe sell those fantasy darlings that come out of nowhere and accrue value really quickly. Like I
Yes.
wish I would have sold Jordan Mason
Oh
earlier.
my! I was
So I
bro.
am
I was.
holding so many Jordan Mason bags right now, and he has no shot of having any value in 2025 because he's going to be looking. He's probably going to be a free agent
Yeah.
because it's going to be Garendo and CMC probably in 2025. I mean, Garendo's looked amazing. He's an amazing
Great,
athlete.
yeah. I personally
Um,
liked what he. Yeah, I like as, but you kind of said you it's
so
the
so
fact that you
Jordan
even
Mason is a so Jordan Mason is a free agent, and
yeah.
he's going to be a free agent in a time where we're looking at a historic incoming rookie class. So where is he going to find those touches in 2025? We've probably missed the boat on him, and you probably will never get as much as you could have got for him in like week four,
I,
three,
yeah, I
early
think
in the
those
season.
those
You probably
prime
could have flipped
games.
him for a second at any time during that period,
Mm,
and now he's just a roster clogger.
yeah,
You
those
don't really
prime
want to
games.
drop him, but
No, those. I'm thinking. I'm trying to think. Those prime games that he had, those first two or three, was when it was probably it was perfect time to get him off the way. But you needed him to save the boat on the season, or so you were in a very middle ground. Like I'm trying to keep going for the season, but I'm probably not going to get the most value out of this player as I could have. Like Kareem Hunt, that's another one, another guy you can think of where
mm-hmm.
he almost has no trade value since Pacheco came back, right? Where you could have got him off the team for a third. I don't. You potentially could have. Someone crazy out there could have given you a second for Kareem Hunt, where they
Mm-hmm.
picked them up randomly off of waivers throughout the regular season. So it's one, and that goes back to our discussion of one of the things that you talked about when it comes to being a good fantasy football player is that staying on top of waivers. Kareem Hunt was a one of I think Kareem Hunt is one of the top three waiver pickups this year. You can think,
Absolutely.
yeah, 100%. You can go. Who else? Because you had picked up in the waivers, the guy on the Titans, Westbrook out of Kena.
I'm gonna tell you who was the best waiver pickup because
Let him
he
know,
was
Rob.
de- he was definitely on waivers. Even in deep dynasty leagues, he was on waivers. Nobody expected what he's done so far this year, but he is the wide receiver one for a team playing Thursday night, the 49ers. Jawan
Oh
Jennings
yeah,
has
yeah,
had an
yeah.
amazing season when healthy. He's had 40-point games. 40
he's
as a
he
waiver wire pickup.
hmm he's very much caught me. I have been on the other side of those games, getting those 40 burgers, but from Juwan Jennings. And who would have thought when Brandon Ayuk went down, we were all like, how are they gonna, how are they gonna fill that position, fill that spot? But you have people talking about Brandon Ayuk like Ayuk is a scrub. You got people talking about Brandon Ayuk like he wasn't one of considered. You could actually argument argue for that he was a top five receiver last year. You got people
Oh, I love
thinking,
some Ayuk. I
you know,
got
so
him
you
in
know
so
how
many bags.
so that's how you know that Jawan Jennings, the season that Jawan Jennings had, I think he saved. That's another person that saved quite a few people uh regular season where shoot you might not coming into the season you might have actually those are situations where you see people they're ranked second or third but might be just the overall fifth scoring team. It's because of Juwan Jennings has probably brought them all the way. They had
Yeah,
like a horrible team, but you had a Juwan Jennings. So
him and one other guy who I was aggressively going after in the last couple weeks because all he does is produce. This guy was holding a zero the whole game this past Sunday, and I believe he scored about 17 points in overtime, all in overtime. Jonnu Smith with the game-winning touchdown. That guy in tight end premium, he was giving you 30 for weeks and weeks in a row. He's just been such a difference maker, and he was also even on deep dynasty leagues. He was also on waivers because that's what mostly I play is deep dynasty leagues. I'm only in basically one short bench redraft league, so um, when I speak about waivers, I'm not you know we're not talking about going to grab an Isaac Garendo because he's been on somebody's taxi or the end of somebody's bench all year.
you know,
Those guys are always rostered, especially the guys that just got drafted. But guys like Jawan Jennings and Jonnu Smith, they were afterthoughts, and those guys were dropped for some of the incoming rookies. So, um, always be aggressive is my motto. Always be super aggressive early in the season with your fab money. I'm very aggressive after rookie drafts because that's some of the you'll be able to grab some of the best talent. You'll be able to grab the whole year right after that rookie draft, especially in 3 round rookie drafts. You'll you know you'll be able to pick up guys like Garendo,
yep.
but that's the only time you'll have have chances. Guys like Tyrone Tracy, um, Kamani Vidal, who is getting closer and closer to getting opportunity in San Diego. But yeah, early in the season because by the end of the season, you know, you're lucky if you find somebody that's really a game changer late in the season.
Once again, it brings us back to what happened during the week where Rocco beat me by $1 to get Travis Homer. It's just about, it's
And
all a
that's like
strategy.
that's like one of the only leagues where I had Fab, and I only had Fab because I traded so many uh, startup draft picks that my roster was so overinflated that I had no space to like pick up anybody else, and it was a 4 round rookie draft, so that's the reason why I still had Bunny, but probably 8 out of 10 leagues I blow my whole load right after the draft.
Yeah, and then in that same league is where you traded for Jonnu Smith. And I think that in the recent weeks you traded for Jonnu Smith, and I am number one in that league, but that's a trade I think that might take you
Oh,
to the
I'm
chip.
coming.
I know
I'm
that
coming. I
one
scored the
when
most
you
points in that league. I had the worst luck in Super Friends League, Volume 2, man. But some bad lineup decisions. I think against you, I sat some pretty high scoring guys. I think Goddard had like a legacy game on my bench that week. But no excuses. No excuses. I'm the
He's
highest scoring
coming,
team in
man.
that. I'm the
He's
highest scoring team in that league. I basically got a first round bye because I got Max who doesn't even want to win and somehow keeps winning. Keeps winning. I'm like, bro, you should have sold all your good players to me. Why you still winning games? You're tanking. You're doing the
literally
opposite of what you want to do.
context to that, y'all. Our good friend Max, he tried to tank on the season and still ended up being the number 4 ranked team.
Well, I think he decided to tank when he had eight. He had like 7 wins. He was like 7-3 and decided to tank. Like, bro, you need to be in. You've already had the luck.
That is hilarious, yo. Like, sorry, Max,
Man,
yo. You go see you in the playoffs. You gonna get bounced out though, but glad to have you in the playoffs, my friend.
man, if I lose that one, he's gonna be the first tanking team to ever win a championship.
Right, just before we go into our next topic, that's one thing I actually did learn more about this season of leagues that have divisions. The playoff seeding is like plays out different. Like it plays almost basically how in real life they do in the NFL, where if you win your division, if you're number 1 in your division, you're automatically making the playoffs. But like if let's say you have two 9-6 teams in one league, that one 9-6 team might not make the playoffs.
Mhm,
So it's no, that was some more of the things I noticed this fantasy year, learning more how divisions, like there's one league that we have 4 different divisions in that league, so it played a different part of how the playoff seating was set up. But on to our next topic, and I'm gonna show my screen, but I'll give my input after. But we're going to rank our top 10 RBs in Dynasty. What do you think about that, my boy?
Oh man, I know we had this mission to rank the running backs, and I just realized I don't really fucking like these running backs. Like they don't have like they have one guy at the top, and then like it's just choose your flavor. But let me go from the bottom. I'll start from the bottom to the top. Um,
And,
at,
and
at
before we get going, Rocco, I just want to clarify when you see these tiers, right? This is these are tiers and within like the best of running backs, right? So C is still going to be a relatively good running back in fantasy, but when we're ranking within the group of this 10, this is where like S is going to be there by themselves, right? A is still a good option, one of the top 4 guys that you would try to target, and then by it goes on after that. So just keep that in mind when we're going through these. So who do you have at that number 1 spot, Rocco? Who is
so we're
the
going in.
king
So
of
we going top
RBs?
down. Oh,
Okay,
that's so easy. It's Bijan Robinson.
we
If he's
got
not your if he's not your RB1, then I don't know. You're not doing it right. Um, all the guy does is produce. He is the size, speed specimen. He is Saquon Barkley, but 5 years younger. He is the centerpiece for Atlanta's offense, and he's great running the ball and great catching the ball. He scores touchdown. He does everything. He's just the class of the running back landscape right now. So he's an easy one, and he is definitely heads above everybody else. This is where I started having difficulty right after one. One was easy for me. Um, Two, I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
Um, it does worry me a little bit. He is touching the ball a lot, so that worries me a little bit about him going forward. But he's just in a perfect situation to score fantasy points. He's on a great team that features him. He has maybe the best offensive line in the league, definitely right up there. Um, and
So,
he's in.
so question on that, Rocco.
Sure.
Saquon, he's what I believe what 28 now, 27, 28
I think
around that.
I believe he's 27.
So, do you know they say running backs start to fall off that cliff at that 28, 29, 30 mark.
That's what
Do you,
scares me.
do you think Barkley could be one of those outliers at the RB position that he plays well beyond his 30 years like we've seen with Derrick Henry? Well,
I'm
Derrick
not
Henry's
wishing on
30.
him. I can easily see him getting hurt, you know, this season, not let alone next season. He's a guy that's battled injuries in his career. Um, he looks like he has a new lease on life. He's got, he's in such a much better situation. But he still worries me. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's carried the ball 266 times already this year.
Mm,
So
okay.
that definitely worries me. He's been out there for 339 snaps. So he's always out there. The team runs a lot of running plays. Kenneth Gainwell spells him occasionally, but
Mm,
um, he just worries me. The touch volume just kind of worries me. I mean, he is an alien, so if anybody could age like fine wine, it could be him. Um, but I wanted to put somebody else ahead of him. I just couldn't find the guy that I could put ahead of him, if we want to put it that way.
okay. Respect that.
No, nobody really inspired me to get up above him. I wish he was 25 and not 27, but he's at RB2, but he's in a tenuous situation. He could drop at any time,
All
in
right.
my opinion.
Who do we have at that third spot?
My God, this is where it gets really complicated because all of the running backs that can be ranked here are either hurt currently, they are smaller, so they make me super nervous. I'm not a guy that likes to invest heavily on small running backs because I just feel like they have a shorter shelf life.
Mm,
Or they're super dusty, even older than Saquon. So um, that makes me really nervous. Or they're old and they're hurt, like a guy that used to be the best running back in the league. But
wah, wah, wah.
at three, I'm gonna go with a guy that was a league winner last year, but he's in a total shit show this year. I heard somebody call this quarterback Karen Rodgers, and man, that was just amazing. Just the drama that he brings with himself. But I'm gonna go with Brees Hall at
Okay.
three, and I just wish him health for next year. But when he is healthy, he is a true difference maker. He is a guy that can win you a ship, and he's done most of his damage on really, really shit teams. So he's a guy that I want to have him on my teams. Some of the teams I have on him on currently are some of
Hmm.
those same teams that are not going to the playoffs this year. So hopefully he can turn it around, and those teams can turn it around with him. But at number four,
And
we
and and Rocco, I just
yep.
before you give us your number four, I think some people might, actually no. Hmm. I think after this year, some people might actually more agree with you on this one. But I think some people might be looking at you like, how don't you have? I think who you're about to say next in your top two, but who you got at that number four spot? I think I know who
At,
you're going to say, but who
at
you have?
number four, I'm gonna go with Jameer Gibbs.
Not
Um,
okay.
Is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, I think yeah, that is
Yeah,
exactly who.
yeah. Like I said, I get nervous with the smaller running backs, which he is a smaller running back. They make me nervous. That's all I can say. They make me super nervous. Um, 5'9", 200 pounds. He has probably the best speed in the league, but they make me a little nervous. The smaller running backs. Um, so that's basically my knock on him, and he's in a timeshare, albeit the best timeshare in the league, but he's still in a timeshare, so that caps a little bit of his upside. Whereas the other three guys are basically, the sun for their offense.
Mm. And for if you had to for these guys here, this top four, right?
Mhm.
What would you be paying, or what would you have to pay to get these guys? If someone was like, "Hey, I wanted Brees Hall, I want Gibbs, I want me Bijan off your team," what does a deal off the rip have to look like to get these guys off your team?
If we're talking about draft picks, Bijan's going to be 2 plus. He may be three unless those two first are early first, and I want my first to be in 2025.
Mm,
But if they're mid to late, he can cost up to three first round picks easy. He's just he can be the centerpiece of a team, of a team's running game. Saquon is kind of weird because he's giving you the stats, but I've seen his value fluctuate wildly from league to league. I've seen him go for two first. In my home league, he went for a 26 first and T. Higgins. So I would say, maybe an early first,
hmm
um, or maybe a first and a competent starter, like maybe a first and like a Tyrone Tracy, maybe a first and like a Tony Pollard,
Okay.
something along those lines. Maybe a first and Chuba Hubbard.
I think all those are valuable to get. Someone would listen to for Barkley.
Yeah, Brees Hall. He's a easily a first plus for me. Kind of those guys are in the same range. Um, I know people that have Jameer Gibbs, love Gibbs, so he's like, I don't see him move a lot unless it's like one of those weird giant trades where like people trade their whole teams. I
Hmm
don't see him leaving a lot of teams just because of his youth, and his production. Rebuilders not selling him because he's young.
Right. Okay.
So
So now that we're out that top four-ish
mhm.
range, going into that going to a new tier B, still a good guy. These are and tier B running backs are, running backs are still really good. You still want them on your team, but they might be, either older guys or, so injury guys or just guys who might not have that stability that we want, like don't have a contract to follow up. So, who is your number five
I'm gonna
RB?
say I feel like the guys in this group are stable for me, but they're fucking dusty. I got two dusty guys and a guy that's busted, but he is young. So at five, I'm gonna go, and I might shock people. I'm gonna go with Derrick Henry
Okay.
because he is a league winner. Um, he'll help your team, get there. He is old. He's probably the oldest guy on this list, but he doesn't have the same tread, the same years of tread, NFL tread on the tires because, I think he started the first three of his years in a timeshare. So he doesn't have the same NFL tread on his tires,
Mm.
on a year by year basis. And the guy's a freaking specimen. I
Tank,
mean,
specimen, Hulk.
nobody in the league is built quite like Derrick Henry, especially not at the running back position. When he got hurt, he hurt his foot. He didn't. He's never really, knock on wood at my desk. He's never, had that serious injury where he's like,
Hmm.
blown his knee out or anything like that. And I shouldn't even put that shit in the air. But I feel like he's on the perfect team. He's kind of like maybe the discount Saquon Barkley.
Hmm.
A guy that just went to the perfect team that fits him perfect. Fits him like a glove. And the fact that he's with Lamar, I think, is going to add years to his career because he's not in Tennessee running into stack
Nope.
boxes for 17 games straight. He's getting a lot more runway where he can just punish defenders. And I think that the longer he's there in Baltimore, I think that offense would only get better.
Hmm.
And just seeing those two guys together, it's like, man, these guys should have played their whole career together, honestly.
Sure. All right, then who's at that number 6 spot?
All right, we're gonna have another dusty running back, but a guy who is winning people weeks right now. I believe he's had 2, 3 touchdown games in the last 3 weeks, and he's completely sucked the life out of the passing game, which hurts my Jaden Reed shares immensely. But Josh Jacobs is another dusty running back who's actually a little bit younger. He's younger than King, so he's probably got a good 2, 3 good years left
Yeah,
at
it's kind of
least.
crazy. Yeah,
And
you're right. Yeah.
and he also is a great fit for Green Bay. He's you know they've had Aaron Jones for years, but I think they were missing a guy that could really gain yards, through the middle of the defense, and he does that. And it's kind of interesting how the team has transformed from a pass heavy team, in 2023 to a run dominant team in 2024. So he is the face of that offense right now. So it's hard for me to go away from a guy like that who is going to help people win championships in 2024.
I love me some Josh Jacobs. I have him on a few of my fantasy leagues. Also sold him quite a few times across leagues just because I was doing a rebuild and he was one of the more perfect assets to get off and people would want and I could still get a first for. I love me some Josh Jacobs. He's still, you would think he'd been in the league forever, but I believe he's only like 25, 26. So I think he has given still the Packers that running back. I
Mm-hmm,
think
mm-hmm.
the Packers during one of their better times when they had 80 Lacey before he got fat and a big back. You know, you know, when they had a thumper back there, I really liked them. So shout out to Josh Jacobs at number six.
Good
I still
call. He
think
is 26.
no, see, so I still think he still has a lot of tread. Whether there is a lot of talk about how his contract was set up, whether they can get out of it after year one if they wanted to at the earliest. But I think he's shown that he'll be back. He'll be back in Green Bay for sure after this year.
He's getting a taste of winning, and he's the centerpiece for a winning team. I see no reason for him to leave. I
He'll be
think
back.
I think as long as he's healthy and playing good football, he'll be in Green Bay.
Number 7.
Number 7, this one may be a little bit controversial, but I think he was also in the same draft class. He went at 102 in a lot of rookie drafts in the Brees Hall draft, and I think he's one of the most talented guys in the league. He gets the balls injury every single year. You know, they call it a groin injury, um, but it's nuts injury. Um, I just love watching this guy play football because he's so talented. Sometimes he lets his talent get in the way of making the simple play, and I think that's something he needs to clean up. But he's just a highlight reel waiting to happen. Kenneth Walker the third is my
Ooh.
controversial running back 7.
Ooh. No,
Yeah, I know
I
we're passing up
know.
some people here, but
I did not. So hold on, Rocco.
I
Hold
love me
on,
some
Rocco.
KW3.
Hold on, Rocco, because I'm looking at a few of these. Hold on. I messed up on his name. So sorry, Dion. I just realized that.
And just for perspective, he is PFF's number 1 graded running back on running grade in 2024.
I love me. Okay, I do like me some Kenneth Walker. Don't get me wrong, but I know there's some people probably beating on the table that you have Devon A. Chain, who people die swear by. You have guys like Alvin Kamara. He's
108
older.
pounds. Have you seen the state of the Saints? I watch him
Mm,
every week. You know, him getting 30 touches, it ain't good for his life.
no, and then but do you have a vendetta against Kyron Williams?
You know I don't like Kyron Williams, but he is on my. Well, is he on my list? Yeah, he's on my list.
Okay, we're
I just
working
put him
towards
on
it.
there.
Okay,
He
we're
get
working
there.
towards it.
I don't
Mind
like
you,
him because
we still got guys like Jonathan Taylor still on the board. We still got okay, we get it.
Taylor's
Okay,
my guy, but he has not had a good year.
all right. Well, okay,
He's
well,
my guy, but he has not had a good year.
let us know about that number 8 then, Playboy. What's that number 8 looking like?
Number 8. This one's gonna be controversial too because people don't think he's that great, and he's in a timeshare with another guy on this list. But all this guy does is score touchdowns. He is in the Jamal Williams role, but he's actually good at football. Um, David Montgomery
I knew it was coming.
is my running back 8. All he does is produce, and he's on a team that wants him to produce. So, you know, if either of these guys got hurt, um, either one of them would probably be the running back 1 rest of season because
100%.
because you know all these guys do is produce, and you know they have you know great running back grades. I believe both of them are over 1,000 yards. I want to say, or
It's
damn close
coming.
to
They're
it.
damn near close, and I know there's a
No, no,
lot.
no, no, no. Montgomery has 771 and 12 on the year. So, um, you know, he's not quite the level of Jahmyr Gibbs, but he just produces.
No, I think if there's a lot of fantasy managers out there that would pray that Jameer Gibbs would get that type of touches, get that type of usage of an RB1. It would feed families literally. It would take it. It would be a league winner. Oh, Gibbs is already a league winner if you get him on a good day. But imagine him getting solely those RB1 carries. Man, he'd be one of those. He'd be one of those Saquon Barkley types of getting
Hmm.
those 40-point games, 30-point games. So
And
shout out.
I'm sorry
Shout,
to say, but he does have 1,000 yards. Just he has 300 some odd yards in the air. So yes, he maybe not 1,000 yards in the ground, but does have 1,000 total yards on the year.
well, we only got two last rankings, man. We're getting a little deep. So I'm kind of
All
curious to
right,
how you
I
gonna
have
round this out.
capitulated Kyron into my list. I don't like him.
Mhm.
He's not a very highly rated running back, but Sean McVay seems to love him, and he's giving him so many fucking carries that he just has to produce. But you know he has a bit of a fumbling issue. Uh, he does have a bit of a fumbling issue that makes me nervous. He's 12th in the fumbling grade according to PFF, and he's not a very highly rated running back. just clocking in at a mere 4 yards per carry. But he does have 1,000 yards on 285 carries.
Okay. So we're going.
251 carries. I'm sorry. He has the second most carries in the league. Let me just say it like this: Saquon Barkley is number one in carries at 266, and he has 1,600 yards.
Hmm.
Kyron Williams has 251 carries, and he has just over 1,000 yards. So
I'm just waiting for him to fall off the face of the, and I mean that in the nicest way. I just have a lot of Blake Corum, and I'm
I
waiting for
have a
Blake Corum,
shitload of Blake
and
Corum.
I'm and I'm waiting for Blake Corum to take over the reins over there. All right, so how we get how we going to how we going to round off this top 10?
All right.
I think.
So let me just cut this short. Um, I still believe. I think he'll come back healthy next year, and if he does come healthy, he'll probably outscore a lot of guys on this list. Give me CMC. He's gonna be my number 10.
Mm,
Sorry, Devin A. Chain.
all right.
Too small. It's not a guy I trust.
Oh, hold on. I just peeped the name. So Jonathan Taylor did not make the top 10. Davon A. Chain did not make the top
No.
10. What are the noticeable ones? Actually, I wouldn't be mad at these other guys not making the top 10. To be honest with you, you got James Cook. Um,
Small. Small, and I like Ray Davis.
all right. So we're gonna recap.
You know. You know who. You know who I wanted to sneak in there.
Hmm.
Who I really wanted to sneak in there was either Bucky Irving or, but he's small issue again. And Chuba Hubbard has really impressed me this year, and he has no competition because his competition just blew their knee out. So he's a guy I really wanted to sneak in there. I don't know, he just didn't have quite the name cachet just yet. But he's easily a guy by the end of the season who could definitely be on that list if he finishes out as strong as he's, played 3/4 of the season already.
So we got Bijan number one, Saquon number two, Brees Hall number three, Jameer Gibbs number four, Derrick Henry number five, Josh Jacobs number six, Kenneth Walker number seven, David Montgomery number eight, number nine, Kyron Williams, and CMC number 10. Woo, man, that is. Some people might be cursing at you. Some might people calling you out your name, Rocco. I
I
don't
don't give
know.
a shit. This is only my opinion. I'm just one person here in NOLA giving my non-professional opinion. I can look at this 2 weeks from now and have a different opinion, but snap judgment. This is where I'm at right now.
And God damn it, we stand. He gonna stand on
Listen,
it.
I'm standing on my business until I change my mind. But
Standing on
who's
it,
your
baby.
top 10? We didn't go over your top 10 quarterbacks, so I need to know. Give
Huh.
me a real quick rundown, if
Looking
you
at
want.
yours, looking over it, Bijan would definitely be my number one. I think what he's done this year, he started off slow, but I think he solidified that he is king of RBs for Dynasty. Then I would agree. I would put Saquon Barkley at number two. I think once again what he has done this year, he always just needed the opportunity. I don't think he was going to get that. New York Giants were going to. He wasn't going to have the season that he had this year if he stayed on the Giants. That's the falling. They're just not a good team. He went to a team that prioritizes the running the ball. They have a good offensive line. They have a good offensive team. They have the players. So, and he's seen what he's done with the opportunity. So Saquon at number two, 100%. I would probably go Jameer Gibbs number three. I just absolutely love his. He's just electric. I love him in the open field. I love him how he could just get him the ball in different ways. If he was to get RB1 touches, he would probably be as close to Bijan. as many people probably think he is. But I think Bijan beats him every time out if you going by rankings. But I love me some Jameer Gibbs. At number three, number four, Brees Hall. I like him. I think he's one of the best receiving backs in the league. That offense just sucks, and I don't think he gets to be shown in the capability in the same. You know, I don't think he gets the same opportunity just because of how bad that team is. But if he was on a playoff team, I think he could easily, I wouldn't even say easily, but he could be a candidate for that 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving yard if everything went, if he stayed healthy, and that offense did what it did. So Brees Hall at number four. Then I would go number five, Derrick Henry. I think is he. You could very much put him there. He is, if not 30, going to be 30, but he has shown to be still one of those league winners. Still be able to outrun people even at 240 plus pounds, 6'3", still doing his thing. And I still think he still has probably about 3 more years production out of him. So Derrick Henry at number five, love it. Josh Jacobs, you know how I feel about Josh Jacobs. I think that he's still young. He's a workhorse. That offensive line for the Packers is not the greatest. It's not, it's just not, it's average at best. But he still is one of the main focal points on that when things are not going well in the passing game. They're still leaning on Josh Jacobs, and it might not look pretty, but he gets those touchdowns, and I like Josh Jacobs, so he can stay at number six. Number seven, that's where it gets, and I messed up Kenneth Walker's name. Sorry out to you, Kenneth Walker. This where it starts to get a little tricky for me. Kenneth Walker is a good running back. I would probably have to go James Conner here. Actually,
Wow.
yes, I love James Conner. Yes, I'm gonna go number seven
The
would be James
Terminator.
Conner. Yeah, James Conner to me is a really good. He's just what's the nickname I gave him to the other day to somebody. He's all reliable. He just got a new contract with the Arizona Cardinals. They see the value that he brings to that offense. He's a good value in the receiving game. He can throw the ball, and then you can give him that rock plenty of times, and he can give. He's had pretty good, solid games this year, and all the biggest thing with James Conner has always been his health. Can he stay healthy for a full season? Can he stay healthy for a majority of the season? And he's shown that this year. I love me
Yeah,
some James
most definitely.
Conner. I try to buy him anytime. If I'm a contender, I'm buying James Conner because you
You
can
can
usually
get him for
get.
a second.
I was literally you can get him for the second, and he can give you some good games. So I would put James Conner at seven. Eight, I would go Jonathan Taylor. I would go eight. Love me some Jonathan Taylor. He's paired with our guy Anthony Richardson, who I think has taken a bit of his value away recently.
Run touchdowns, yeah.
Um, but once again, I think that you know things in with the coach just hasn't gelled well, and you've had you know replacing other quarterbacks and switching out. And then you have, you know, often receivers not always helping out the quarterback. So the passing game isn't always consistent. Teams throw a lot more guys in the box to stop Anthony Richardson or Jonathan Taylor. So I think once the Colts are able to consistently get the passing game going, you have guys cooking for them a little bit more, that will open up things a lot for Jonathan Taylor and get him going again. You know, he does get that injury bug for me because he does get hurt a lot, especially with the ankle, the high ankle sprains. So that's why he's more down on my list. But it's
He
hard to keep him.
was and he was so he like never missed any games in college, but he's just been snake bitten with those
Mm-hmm.
high ankle sprains
Yep. So
for whatever reason.
so it's I like Jonathan Taylor. If he was able to stay healthy a little bit more, he'd be up my list because he has shown when he is healthy, he's still one of those guys. But he just has to show it for me a little bit more. Number 9, I would probably have Kyron at this spot as well. I'm just not really big on once again Sean McVay to hell to that boy. He'll ride Kyron the hottest wave, but his loyalty to running backs, and he was scarred with Todd Gurley. Go Dogs, you know how we do. He was scarred with that. So I think until Kyron Williams shows that he isn't serviceable, he'll be around. But as soon as Kyron Williams starts to show that he ain't shit, insert quorum in there, and Kyron Williams will be a forever afterthought. So that's why
Carm
he's
looks
at.
good when he gets in there too.
I'm saying,
With his three
you,
touches a game,
mm,
he always looks hella good when he gets those random couple touches a game.
yeah. So I like me some Kyron Williams, and number 10. This one might be a little hard for me. And I think out of respect, you have to put CMC here just because who he is, his resume of what he's been able to do in his fantasy, you know, leagues. Uh, but the injuries, you have to look at that. You have to
Yeah, he
look
could
at.
easily drop to zero very
Like, he could
easily.
be right. He could be 100% off this one. If I had to do a dark horse, I would put Joe Mixon at number 10. I would actually, honestly, fuck it. I'm gonna do it. I'm taking CMC off my top 10. CMC is no longer. He scares me a bit. He just scares me too much. I'm
Mix,
I'm going with Joe Mixon as my number
mix.
10 dynasty. I love him in that Houston offense. If they still had Stephon Diggs, because that's when I felt like that offense was really rolling when they had all three of the receivers out there. I think that they, they would be that offense would be humming a little bit better. But I would no, that's why I would go at my number 10 spot, Joe Mix,
Like it.
and that is our top 10 dynasty RBs.
Do we
Those are
have
our
time to talk
dogs.
about a couple more RBs? It's getting
Oh,
kind
we
of.
do. We
I know it's
know.
getting
No.
kind of late out there in Florida.
Hey, listen, I'm always down to talk, man. I'm always down to talk about these guys and talk about the RB2 of the 2025 running back class coming up. With a lot of discussions, and what brought this topic up in my head, in our head, was that a lot of people like Omarion Hampton, a lot of people like Caleb Johnson, a lot of people like Judkins. It's like, who is really the RB2? And let me go ahead and start showing this clip
Let's go.
that I put together of all of, because we'll start with your first guy, your guy who you believe is the RB2 of this 2025 class. That I haven't. Yeah, if this was before the season, he was coming in as RB1 of the 2025 class. Now I feel like he's dropped back a few on certain people's eyes. But how do you feel about Quashawn Judkins?
Man, what I say about him is as a true freshman, he put up 1,567 yards at Ole Miss. He scored 31 touchdowns as a freshman and a sophomore, and he decided to go to a more higher profile team in Ohio State. and he's sharing the backfield with Travion Henderson. So it just it just there's no way for him to put up those same numbers. But I think what it's actually doing is taking some of the miles off of his legs, sharing that rock in Ohio State. But I just love what I see on tape. He has enough speed. He is a size speed specimen at 6 foot, 219 pounds. He has great contact balance. I see him. Look. Well, yeah. Look at that breakaway speed. He has enough speed. He has enough speed. That DB caught him at the end, but he still managed to get into the end zone. But it just from the tape I watched, it just seemed like contact. He was able to shed a lot of contact and still pick up yards.
Mm.
Who is this? This is
It's still
still
joking. Yeah, it's still
still
joking.
Jenkins.
Yeah, that's
He has a mean stiff arm. He's got enough wiggle to his game. Look at him, get off me, and we're going, and
mm.
get off me again, and I'll carry these last three guys.
I think if he would have stayed at Ole Miss, he probably would have had a better season, and the consensus would have been he still is RB1. And when he, like you said, he started sharing that load with Henderson, and after that, he didn't have as big of games as we were used to seeing in 2002 as when he was a freshman, and then 2023 last year.
Yeah, I'm
But
a team. I'm drafting on traits, not on the raw numbers.
now that I'm thinking about it, for a person who was considered coming into the 2004 season as RB1, you might be able to pick him up in the later first to or maybe that early second. What do you think? Some people
Uh,
might be lower at this. When you hear the discussion of Amarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, these are the guys that people are thinking of going with. You know,
oh man, if I get him in the late first, I'm going streaking. Woo!
we're gonna have Rocco in them streets, baby.
Look out!
I
somebody reel me back in, man.
I like me some Judkins. You know what I'm saying? He to me has that. His build. You know, kind of reminds me of. Uh, his name is escaping me. Goodness gracious, it's throwing me off. And now we got Omarion Hampton. Some of people's RB too, and some people who think he's special. But I love me some
I
Judkins,
like him.
man.
I like Hampton too. I mean, you
I,
can't go wrong. Like we're really just it's
I think it's
almost like
flavor.
it's yeah,
It's,
exactly.
it
Took the
comes down
word
to
out of my mouth.
flavor.
Yeah, basically because Omarion Hampton. I mean, he was a Debbie Player of the Week. That's how much we love him here at Fourth and Fantasy. But another guy, size, speed, specimen. And guys just get off of me. Contact balance. Like it. The first guy is never going to bring him down, and you
Mm-mm.
basically have to blast him out of bounds to get him down.
Like
Um,
being 6 foot, 220
mhm.
pounds. I think he'll run in the. I don't think he's blazing fast. He does. He doesn't give me 4.3 speed type of guy.
No, he's got enough speed, just
But he has
enough.
he has that he has enough, like you said, he has enough speed to, I think, where he can get down the field and do a little some. In 2024 he's at 281 attempts, what makes him fourth in the nation. He's at 1,660 rushing yards, which is second in the nation, and then he has 15 touchdowns, which puts him at 13th in the nation. A couple noticeable games from Hampton. He had against North Carolina State, 22 attempts, 185 yards, one touchdown. He had a 244-yard game against Wake Forest. He had a 172-yard game against Florida State, four touchdowns that game. He had a 210 rushing yard game against North Carolina Central. So I he also had a really good 2023 season as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you that's he's shown that he has production for 2 years. What kind of makes me worried, not too worried, because same thing could be said for Genti, is his usage. That's a lot of attempts. That's a lot of wear and tear on the body in college.
Hmm.
And the RB shelf life is already not long. So, coming in, that's why I like Caleb Johnson so much, is that he has less tread on the tires. In 2024, he had 240 attempts. Mind you, hear this: 240 attempts, which put him at 11th. All right. Hampton had 281, which put him at fourth in the nation. So just keep that in mind. Caleb Johnson, 240 attempts, 11th in the nation. He had 1,532 rushing yards, sixth in the nation. He had 21 touchdowns, sixth in the nation. All right. Now, Hampton caught more balls than him. I think
Hmm.
he was more involved in the passing game than Caleb Johnson. And a few of the things that I've heard about Caleb Johnson is that it doesn't look like he has pop, right? It doesn't look like he's explosive.
He
But
looks slow.
neither did Aaron Foster. Aaron Foster didn't look like he was running fast either, but he was still pulling away from guys. He was still hard to catch, right? That's I'm not saying Caleb Johnson will have the same type of fantasy production as Arian Foster, but what I love about they're both him and Hampton are roughly about the same size. I think they'll end up running about the same kind of 40 speed, and I think they can be used in the same kind of way. But what I like about Caleb Johnson is he had 6.4 yards per carry compared to Hampton's 5.9 yards per carry. And, you know, Hampton gives me DeMarco Murray vibes, how he runs upright. I love Hampton. I think he can be special depending on what team he goes to. I think any type of team that loves to run the ball, Caleb Johnson would be wonderful on the Dallas Cowboys. Marion Hampton would be wonderful on the Cowboys. So I think once again, it all comes down to flavor. Judkins, it comes down to flavor, you know, of what you like, right? Some people would even argue with you that Ollie Gordon should. I don't think the fuck he should be anywhere in that consideration.
I
But
still need to do my tape study on him. That's why he's not on this list. I know he was higher on this list, coming into the year, and he's worked his way down a little bit. So I just tried to focus on these four guys, and it's well, three guys. I mean, we know who's going 1.1, but these three guys are really, kind of basically in a tier where, um, it's, a lot of it's going to come down to landing spot. A lot of them are going to come down to draft capital, um, and a lot are going to come down to personal preference. Who you like. What really stands out to me is, that early production from Quinshon Judkins. That's production that these other guys didn't have.
and,
As true freshmen.
and you know what I
That's
was
what
thinking
kind of
about.
separates them from me.
And something that kind of put it on my mind is Judkins could end up being one of the best value picks. He could end up being one of the better value picks of 2000 of the rookie draft, due to people might be higher on people are definitely probably higher on Genty. People are higher on Hampton. People are higher on Caleb Johnson. You can end up getting a really good running back towards that later first, and if you even see him in that early second, hop on him. Like I feel like that's a. I don't think he makes it to that. I think name wise he makes it in that mid first to late first. People pick him up, but like we said, since this is who do you feel like is the RB2? Let's say Genty's off the board. All those running backs are on the board, and you have the opportunity to select the next best running back, who are you going with? Are you going to shock the league by going with Junkins?
I mean, I'm always a value player, so if his ADP is like you said, late first, early second round, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to trade to the guy like you that loves a Caleb Johnson, to the guy I'll show the clip of Marion Hampton, jumping over the whole offensive line and then trucking three guys into the end zone. I'll play up those guys, to move back from an early first, which have very few early firsts in my rebuilding leagues. I'll move back from that early first, and move back into later in the first round, and then I'll pick up, another player and some more picks, and I'll take the guy that I want all along.
Mm.
It's
I
a
feel
value
like,
game for me.
yeah, I think at this point, or when we start getting closer to the draft and actually picking these guys, you're going to get. I feel like it's going to be hard to miss. You're going to like your selection between your top five guys, right? It's just about where they go and how they build or how they sit on your team. Luckily for us, how me and Rocco go about building our teams and how we preach the QB wide receiver duos or receiver tandems to build your dynasty teams. This year's rookie draft plays greatly to how we build our teams of now. We don't, since it's not a big wide receiver class, or not big wide receivers, it's not a top, it's a very top heavy talent receiver class. And then it trickles off after that. So having already good wide receiver talent, we can build our teams this year, the RB position, and put a contend for another 2 years, 3 years, if you really set yourself and do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this was a good show where we went through the exercise of kind of calling out our top 10 running backs. And what that illuminates to me is there's a lot of running backs in very tenuous situations, whether they be old, whether they be injured, whether they be small as hell.
Mm.
Little Mighty Mouse guys, these guys that are true running back size, traditional running back size. We're talking about 5'10" to 6 feet tall,
Yeah,
215 to 225 pounds. These guys are going to come in and have immediate roles, and they're going to put a lot of people out of work, especially at the bottom of the roster, and they're going to relegate a lot of starting running backs to part-time players and put them immediately into committees. So I think a lesson here, that you may have should have started to do, or you may want to do if your league opens up trades immediately after the season, is get off of some of those small, older running backs in tenuous situations, because those guys are going to get nuked out of jobs.
I think we're gonna look back at this 2025 RB class, and 2, 3 years from now, and be like, "Yo, this is how my running back room was built. My running back room was built off of this 2025 draft." So yeah,
Absolutely. A lot of these guys are going to be in that top 10 list next year.
so that is our show, everyone. That we've talking about our wonderful guys once again. You know, it's just playoff time, man. Let me bring this back up. It is playoff time, damn it. It is time to take home chips. This is what we've been working for all season. It's time to bring home that chicken, that bacon, that fatty, that green.
Get some of these.
Get
It's some
some of those,
heavy.
man.
It's some
Bring that shit
heavy
back to
ass
the crib.
paperweight.
Bring that shit back to the crib,
This is
man.
a real copycat Lombardi trophy right here.
Mhm.
Thank you, my good friend Soul Saint, for letting me win this championship trophy twice in your league.
And we're gonna win it. Listen, we're going fourth in fantasy. We're gonna come back to you guys and we're gonna tell you how many championships we brought back this year. Because we're going. That's what we do. We going for those chips, baby.
And if I lose, I lose. Fuck it. I
Fuck
did
it.
my best.
I
Weird
did
shit
what I
happens
did.
this time of year.
I did what I did. And now it's on the winning the draft. Mhm. But Rocco, it's always a pleasure. Always good, my G. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Until catch us again Sunday, 11 p.m. We're bringing y'all some more of the vibes.
Fourth and fantasy people, thanks for the support.